This screencast will introduce you to the concept of unity as part of our principles of design. And just a reminder before going forward, there are several, systems of principles of design. This is the one I learned and the one we use in this class. And just be aware that other teachers use different systems, different experts will, have different names, different, emphasis on different principles and so on. Don't get too hung up on it. In this class, we're using this system: unity, balance, rhythm, emphasis, scale, and contrast. And this screencast is about unity, which I think, and a lot of people think, is the most important principle of design. And I'll get into that in a minute. But before you go forward here, make sure that you've reviewed the Gestalt materials, the video on Gestalt. You've done the Gestalt exercise, and you've read all the PDFs related to Gestalt, because if you will not understand, I'm going to use a lot of the vocabulary and so on in this video. So if you haven't looked at the Gestalt video, done the Gestalt exercise, etc., do that first and come back to this video. Okay, unity, I think every work of art, even if you're trying to show absolute chaos or whatever, I think unity is the most important principle. Like every art form, every piece of art, like sculpture, painting, whatever, has to be viewed as a unified whole, and regardless of what the message is or what the intent of the piece is. So if you don't have a unified work, it's more than likely a failure as a piece of art or design. So this is Armin Hoffman's work. This is an advertisement about, you guessed it, pencils. And again, I'm going to refer back to the Gestalt grouping strategies he used to unify this composition. First of all, it's very well balanced, right? There's a sense of rhythm built up by the horizontal lines. The diagonal pencil, if you can see my little indicator here, just adds some visual interest and another sense of rhythm to the composition. One of the Gestalt principles he's using here are figure ground. Okay, it's obvious, like there's the black pencil figures on the white ground. And also the concept, the Gestalt concept of closure. And if you look at a pencil here, again, this is referring back to the Gestalt lecture. Let's look at this one right here. Is this really a drawing of a pencil? In literal sense, no, it is not. It's a rectangle and it's a triangle. Our eye will create a closure to join these two objects, rectangle, triangle, together makes a pencil in this culture, okay? Because it's a symbolic rendering of a pencil. I just want to, this is so obvious it sounds stupid, but I just want you to be aware there are no drawings of pencils in this composition. And you'll go, what? Well, no, there isn't. There are no drawings of pencils in this composition. It's the symbolic breakdown of these objects and the way he positioned them. Our mind creates this unified, idea of a pencil. Okay, so that's sounds like a lot of art school foo-foo, maybe it is, but let's keep going here. So anyway, what he used here to unify this composition was repetition, figure ground, and closure. This is a painting, not necessarily graphic design, but it has a lot of graphic qualities by Piet Mondrian. And so how did he unify this composition here? What Gestalt grouping strategies is he using? Well, figure ground is a biggie, okay? There's a lot of similarity in these triangle shapes. In fact, we could look at this window here. This isn't like really reflective of reality. Okay, like this painting is showing that this window is a cutout that's going straight through this windmill. Of course, that's not what it would really look like if we were really looking at this windmill. It was the artist's choice to make this like an arrow, and it does point up. There's another like arrow shape here. There's a diamond shape here. Diamonds, diamonds, diamonds. So we got similarity. Okay, these geometric angular diamond shapes, and we have figure ground. Also contrasting colors. So we got figure ground similarity, and I didn't put contrast in there. Contrast of color to unify this composition. And remember, it's symmetrically balanced as well. This is a book cover by Paul Rand, and the book contains the work of Paul Rand. Paul Rand was a very important American designer from the 50s and 60s. So what do we have here? The similar pattern links these two objects together. So we have similarity, figure ground, also we could say continuance, because we know that there's an arm down here. This is a symbol, of a human hand. And closure, there's this space between the hand symbol and the sleeve, I guess it is. But like our eye will connect the dots, and this is not just a geometric shape, but it's a symbol of a hand, and we just imagine that there's an arm projecting off the canvas. The other thing I want to point out is any kind of type is a magnet for the eye. So we have this large structure here, and we could say proximity as well, right? We have these three objects that are visually linked together because they're close to each other. We have a structure and we have type. A little bit of type can balance out a lot visually. So this pretty predominant structure here is balanced out by the small type. Now, why is that? That's because type is a magnet for the eye. Okay, the viewer is going to spend time looking at type, reading it. So you have to be careful when you're incorporating type and image that you're balancing it correctly, because type typically will have a more visual weight. All right. So what do we got here? We got figure ground, similarity of the pattern, continuance, and I also said proximity, I think, of the illustration. I'm not a snob. This is not going to be in the Guggenheim Museum, but it's an example of a unified composition. And the artist did a few things. There's similarity of color. The yellow, including the shape of this display type, but the yellow color makes this like arc. So the viewer's eye is going to like connect yellow with yellow, okay? And similarity of shapes, there's like these orb, spherical shapes, and they're in this diagonal, okay, which gives some dynamic quality to the layout. So we got orbs, and there's a little figure down here. He has a spherical head. A couple things. Also, remember I said type has a lot of visual weight. Well, that's true. Human faces and human figures have a lot of visual weight, meaning when you have a human figure or human face in a composition, people are going to spend a lot of time looking at it. It's just biology. We're just attracted to looking at human beings. And so when you put a figure in a composition, a small figure can balance out a whole lot of stuff. All right. So what did this designer do to create unity, similarity of color, similarity of the round shapes? And I could say figure ground. This is a very large predominant structure, this red thing. I guess it's a robot apparently or something. So I think that's about all I have to say about that one. Just remember that your goal as a designer or an artist is to have the viewer's eye flowing across the composition. And this one succeeds at that. Your eye doesn't rest or get stuck on one thing. It goes around the composition in a very free form and easy way. This is I think it was a poster for a art show, I think, and there's figure ground, of course. You can't maybe not see it on the screen, but this is the logo of the. This was a fashion show. This is the logo of the company. You probably can't see it on the screen, but the logo is buried in these leaves here. In this symbolic tree. They're not really leaves. They're little. They're rendered little squares and stuff. Once again, I'm pointing out little teeny tiny type is enough to balance a big image. Okay, so again, I'm repeating myself here. We're attracted to type. We look at it. We spend time reading it. Okay, so just be aware when you're making your compositions that a little bit of type, small in size, can keep the viewer's attention for a long time. And again, this is a balanced layout. Your eye is going to go back and forth between the image and the type, and one big reason is that this AW, this logo, is very, very similar visually to the treatment of the leaves in color and in texture. So that's that similarity, figure ground. So let's look at some real world stuff, okay? Whenever you get jobs in the real world, what will happen is the art director or your boss or whoever it is will give you all this stuff and say you have to fit it in this area, in this page. So I'm not making fun of the designer that had to do this. He or she was giving all these images and all this type and told, okay, you have to make it work on this, on this one page. And if you, the designer, said, can I leave this out or leave that out, more than likely they'll say, no, you have to include everything. Well, this person, the designer, did put in a grid structure with the blue, so it's unifying it that way. Here we have circle, 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 and circle, and I'm sure that the person that designed this, had some kind of conscious decision of where these circular objects were placed. Because this $1 to 5 below logo is a necessary thing. It has to be there. And this was kind of like the object that the designer could have some freedom with. Okay, so is this wonderful? No. Is it a real world solution? Yes. This is probably, this is really the best you could do. You can see the color red, and these is also unifying this composition. So that's that. Micro Center has this very standardized grid, but the thing is there's some thought put into this. First of all, you put stuff in a grid, it's easier for the viewer to figure out. Secondly, the designer, put similar objects all together. Okay, monitors with monitors, gray towers with gray towers. All the type is the same, very predictable. There's a rhythm set up with this grid system. I don't know the significance of these yellow monitors. These are. I think I don't know what they are. I'm not even going to guess. But anyway, for some reason these are grouped together by color. So there is a method to the madness, and you can use these Gestalt grouping strategies in real world applications. So the whole point of this is when you're given let's go back to, let's stick with this one, why not? The the point is with all this stuff is there are Gestalt grouping strategies that I discussed before. You can consciously strategize how to make a composition more unified, more readable with things like similarity, color choice, um, placement of objects, proximity, and so on. So these designs, like something wonderful like this, does not happen by accident. There are conscious decisions on, choosing similar textures, similar colors, very conscious decisions of placing where the type is placed with the image on a composition. So what I'm saying is these are intentional decisions made by the designer, and going forward, if you understand these Gestalt grouping strategies and you're aware of balance and unity, you will also be making conscious decisions to build your compositions.